This is the new BMW M2 Coupe, and it's a little bit like Danny DeVito because it's small, it's a lot of fun, but it's also rather heavy, and I'm going to explain why a bit later in this video. In fact, I'm going to talk you around the upgrades on the M2 compared to the normal 2 Series, on the outside, the inside, its chassis, and of course I'm going to drive it, which will include me launching it to time it from 0 to 60 miles an hour and over the standing quarter mile. Is it quicker than a Mercedes-AMG A45S and an Audi RS3? We're going to find out because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching a video on YouTube on a channel called Carwow. Buy, sell, Carwow. Let's check out the main feature of the new BMW M2, and it's this. It's M Division's S58 3-litre twin-turbo straight-six engine, which also appears in the M3 and the M4. Only here it's been down-tuned slightly to 460 horsepower and 550 newton-meters of torque. It drives the rear wheels via either a 6-speed manual gearbox or an 8-speed automatic torque converter, which is what this car has. How quick is it? Well, let's find out. I'm going to launch it. BMW says this car should do 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. But what's the truth? I'm going to find out with my specialist timing gear. And seeing as I got a closed road, I'm also going to time it over the quarter mile. Let's do this. Launch control, prepared, now active. Good traction that. 0 to 63.87. What's the quarter mile? God, this feels quick. What's it going to do? 11.97. Oh yeah, some good numbers. Just for good measure, and because I can, let's run it in the opposite direction. Oh. Oh, I'm just going sideways so much. That was a bad time. Oh well, that wasn't as good. 13.58 over the quarter mile. That's what happens when you don't have the launch control engaged and the stability control actually keeping the power in check and just some idiot controlling it with their right foot. I think we'll stick with the original numbers. Part of the reason this car is so good at launching, despite being just rear-wheel drive, is the fact that it's got some good tyres. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, but it's also got some good brakes to cope with that performance. So at the front, you've got 380mm disc grip by 6-piston calipers, and here at the rear, you've got 370mm disc grip by single-piston caliper. So, how do the brakes perform? Time for a brake test. Okay, I'm going to do a full emergency stop from 60 miles an hour. What have we got? So it's stopped in 31 metres, which is good. This car isn't just about stopping and going, it's also about cornering, and BMW's M Division has seriously upgraded the 2 Series' chassis for this M2. So it gets uprated suspension, stiffer springs, adaptive dampers as standard. It sits low to the ground, the standard 2 Series. You've got uprated anti-roll bars. There's bracing underneath the boot floor, the subframes, and extra bracing between the shock towers in the engine bay. You've also got a limited slip differential on the rear axle, and the axles themselves are taken from the M4 and M3 to give the car added width. And then factor in the perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and you should have a car that drives brilliantly. But does it? Here we go then. Twisty road, got it set up in its sportiest settings, stability control in the halfway house, MDM mode, a little bit of slip, but it will gather me up if things go a little bit awry. Let's see what the car's capable of. Oh, really good traction, where the M3 or M4 would be losing traction, or the stability control would be kicking in when accelerating out of a bend. This just seems to put its power down better. Maybe that's because it's got less torque. It's just able to maintain traction that little bit better, and that makes it a bit easier to drive. And you get that great sensation of being pushed out of a corner with that M limited slip differential just doing its job to maintain traction. Really, really good. Steering, it's got a nice feel to it, precise. The chassis itself, I've got it in like sporty mode. It's dealing with bumps really well. It doesn't feel quite as keyed into the road as its bigger brother, the M4, but it feels a little bit looser, a bit more playful, which is kind of what you want from the M2, really. This is a fun car, this is, and easy to drive quickly. I've got the automatic gearbox in manual mode, and when you have it in its most ferocious settings with 3 bars, when you upshift, not only is it quick, you get a right old jolt in your back. They've clearly programmed that in to the gearbox. It's a torque converter gearbox, it doesn't need to do that. You can tell they're trying to make it feel a bit more like a dual clutcher. It doesn't feel like a dual clutcher when you're changing down though. It's not as slick as the automatic gearbox in the old M2. Now you might be thinking, as a driver's car, is the auto the choice? Is it? Well, I'm going to find out now. As luck would have it, I've just jumped into a manual version of the M2 with the carbon fibre bucket seats. Let's see what this configuration is like. Is it more fun driving the manual? I tell you what, the pedals are nicely placed so you can heel and toe. The only thing is that these carbon fibre bucket seats have this ridge in the middle, so when you position your leg to do the heel and toe, it sort of like just pinches just under your thigh. So maybe have the manual with the normal sport seats. What's not so good though is the placing of the gear. Second isn't quite where you want it to be. Oh well, but a bit more involving, definitely. However, I don't think BMW's manual gearbox is all that. It's a bit rubbery. If it was the manual gearbox in a Porsche 911 GT3 Touring, yeah, I would go for the manual, not the auto. But here, I think the auto suits the car better. However, I am going to put it into gear shift assistance so I don't have to heel and toe, see what that's like. So coming into corner, braking, into second. Oh yeah, it does a good job. The blip feature is pretty good, you know. Let's go without it again. So heel and towing, off, there we go. Easy to heel and toe. I'd probably have it off, you know. After all, I do like having it off. Overall though, I think I would go for the automatic version of this car rather than the manual. Back in the auto. I do miss those other seats, but they're expensive. So I'm not sure if I was buying this car whether I'd go for those seats. In fact, I think the spec I've got here is pretty much bang on. To make sure it stands out compared to the M240i, the M2 has had a major restyle. Very noticeable here at the front. You've got more squared off kidney grills, this huge vent here, two big vents either side of it as well, and you get adaptive LED lights as standard. It's got a very aggressive look. Continues down the side. Thanks to a wider track and bulging wheel arches, the M2 is almost 5 centimetres wider than the M240i. You get 19-inch alloy wheels as standard at the front, 20s at the back, and you can have your brake calipers in either red or blue, like on this car. There's some fistable door mirrors as well, and a carbon fibre roof as standard, plus these accentuated side skirts which lead into the rear haunches. It looks mean. Finally at the back there's a redesigned beefier rear bumper, quite squared off. You have quad tailpipes and look, they are real as revealed by the carwow sticker truth. What's probably less real is this diffuser, it's just for show. Then you have the M2 badging there, the 50-year badge, celebrate 50 years of M. And then a tiny boot lip spoiler which is just the same as on the M240i. If that's too small for you, you want to get your M2 fitted with some M Performance parts. You can get a bigger spoiler there, more aggressive body kit. It also gets bigger wheels with centre locking nuts and a bunch of silly stickers. Upgrades on the inside include these M Sport seats with the BMW M tricolour and the M2 badging up here on the headrest. You've got an M Sport steering wheel, once again with the tricolour. You've got carbon fibre on it, these M1 and M2 shortcut buttons, carbon fibre paddles. There's also some M tricolour here on the door and on the seat belts there, and on the M gear selector with your different settings for your gearbox. There's carbon fibre here and here, and you get some M specific dials and stuff on the curved display. There's also aluminium pedals and M2 written on the door sill. It's nice, but it's not quite as nice as the interior on a Porsche Cayman. And to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out button up there and follow the link in the description below. I'll tell you what the Porsche hasn't got though, some back seats. I mean, not the biggest, but there is just enough room to carry adults back here. And there is a smattering of M-ness. Also, this is better for carrying stuff than the Porsche Cayman. The M2's boot capacity is the same as the normal 2 Series, so 390 litres. Look, there's no way you carry all this in the Cayman's boot, or its fruit front boot, by the way. Still, if you want a practical performance car, you might be better off with the Mercedes CLA45S because its boot capacity is about 20% bigger. Now, if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out banner up there, follow the link in the description below. And that brings us on to 5 annoying things about the new BMW M2. This may be BMW's smallest M car, but it still has a rather large price. It starts from just under £65,000. It's over £20,000 more than the original M2 was when that was launched. That's an increase of around 50% in less than 10 years. There's profit in that. Also, if you go for the optional carbon fibre bucket seats, which are lovely, they're an extra £7,000 and that'll take the cost to over £70,000. It's nuts. This new M2 weighs in at 1,725 kilograms for the automatic version, which is 150 kilos heavier than the old M2 Auto. What is going on? Who ate all the vice first? The M2 is also the only M car currently not available with X-Drive all-wheel drive, and if I tell you the truth, I think the all-wheel drive version of the M3 and M4 are actually better than the rear-wheel drive versions. Now, they might be planning on bringing in a four-wheel drive version of the M2, but then that will add to the cost and add to the weight. Despite this car's high cost, adaptive cruise control is not standard, and you can't get it at all on the manual version, whereas it does come standard on my Toyota GR Yaris, which is actually a manual. So what gives BMW? There's no mesh on this wide opening for the lower part of the car, and that means that the radiators are extremely exposed, and they're going to get absolutely peppered with stone chips and dents. Look at the fins here, already dented. In fact, if you look in there, as well as the dead insects, you can see a large collection of stones. However, it's not all bad. Here's 5 cool things about the new BMW M2. There are some specific M functions in the infotainment system. One is a lap timer. The other is a drift analyzer, which will grade your drifting abilities. Speaking of which, you have a variable traction control system with 10 different stages of intervention. And of course, you can turn it all the way off for those drifts to be analysed by the analyzer. BMW M2, no soft limiter in it. Peace. There's a lot of adjustment in the electrical sports seats. Oh yeah, and it even has side bolsters you can alter to grip you tightly. And you may think that the headrests are fixed, but oh no, look! They rise up too. You don't have to pay extra for any of the paint schemes on the BMW M2. There's 5 choices. There's light blue, a grey, an orangey red, a white and a black. They like to make BMW individual paint available as an option at a later date. To ensure customers can brag to their fellow BMW fanboys, the M2 has been extensively tested on the Nürburgring. Oh,
we're going for a drive!
Oh, I got to stop doing that, it really hurts. Last thing to do is to see what this new M2 will be like as a daily driver, because that's how most people are going to use it. So I'm going to hit my shortcut M1 button on the steering wheel, which I've set the car up to have everything in the comfort settings, apart from of course the engine. We'll keep that in sports mode. I'm also going to put it in auto mode for the gearbox and dial it back. Now the suspension's slackened off, the steering's lighter, the braking is a little less aggressive when you first touch the pedal, and now it's rather chilled. This is where the automatic gearbox comes into its own. If you're just driving around town, stuff like that, it's just so much easier. You're not having to mess around shifting gears. It's all just very slick and easy. The suspension is surprisingly good over bumps as well. It's all very impressive. Now, when you head out onto a faster road, obviously the gearbox responds nicely and it picks up and off you go, and you're soon up to speed. My only problem with driving long distances at high speed in this car is the fact that you do get quite a lot of noise from the tyres, especially if you're on slightly rough surfaces. Other than that though, it's comfortable, and these normal seats are comfortable, though I think the bucket seats are even more comfortable over longer journeys. I had them in a BMW M3 and I love them. In fact, if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that, my daily driver BMW M3, click on the pop-out button up there. I'll follow the link in the description below. But yeah, what a great all-round car this is. Fun, easy to live with, looks cool, plenty of tech, great performance. Thumbs up from me.
Can you do me one favor?
Depends, what is it?
A really quick one.
I'm not sucking your car.
Can you just stop at the traffic guy up
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
And say hello? Because he wants he's a fan of you.
Okay, yeah, sure.
We're stopping at him. Okay?
All right, no worries.
Love it, okay?
Yeah, it's better than the alternative that I was expecting. Hi. I was told to come and say hello to you.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
Good. You got quite the camera set up.
Yeah. So Uwe said that you wanted to do a photo.
What's that?
Uwe, I don't know, somebody.
No, I want to do the same track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you watch carwow?
Do I watch car?
Yeah. Do you watch carwow?
Him or me?
I don't know what Uwe was on about. Oh, I know. It's that guy up there. That was embarrassing. It's that kind of thing when you think you're famous, but you're not really. You know, just some small little YouTube guy. Here we go. This is the guy. He's not looking at me like, who the f*** are you? Hi, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Nino.
Hello, Nino.
Big fan.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thanks.
Yes.
So, Uwe said that you wanted to do a photo or something.
Yeah, just
Yeah, cool. There you go. I'm good at cheesy pics.
sweet.
No worries. Cheers, dude. Bye-bye. Makes it all seem worthwhile, doesn't it? So then what's my final verdict on the new BMW M2? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should just go right ahead and buy the M2. Don't think of it as an expensive 2 Series. Think of it as a budget M3. Hope you'll enjoy the video. If you did, give it a like. Let me know if you agree with my verdict in the comments below. Click on those windows there for some more videos, and on that box there to go to Carwow to sell your car. Just upload some photos, give a brief description, then dealers all across the country will bid on your car. Pick the highest offer, they'll come to your house at the Carwow and put the money in your account. It's simple. Thanks for watching.